Alright, welcome to Old World Gaming. Looks like over the weekend we've had some more news on Dwarves drop on Warhammer Community. I had a very busy weekend, so this is why I've only picked that up today. But this is the first thing we've heard about Dwarves in ages. Last thing was the announcement after or during Adepticon, which was like March time. What are we now? March, April, May, June, July. That's almost 4 months ago. So yeah, there we go. Let's have a look and see what we got. Right, let's actually go into the article. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Necromunda shenanigans. That's good. Everyone loves Necromunda. Here we go. Warhammer the Old World. Arcane Journal. Great. Okay, expand your army beyond the list found in the Forces of Fantasy book with Arcane Journal. Yes, so obviously you can see the Dwarf army list is in the Forces of Fantasy book, and the idea behind the Arcane Journal is it'll expand it and give you some extra options, which I guess they'll go into here actually. So let's just carry on reading. Dwarf and Mountain holds a 48-page supplement featuring new rules, background lore, and scenarios. You'll find profiles for 3 named characters, all 3 of whom were also at large during the era of Karl Franz. There we go, so returning characters, I guess. And a host of special units, including legendary Goblin Hewer and more Dogs of War options. There are 2 armies of infamy, allowing you to field a royal clan and an expeditionary force, as well as new runes and runic tattoos. That, I'm not gonna lie, I'm disappointed about that. I was hoping one of these forces would be a Slayer army, like we got for Storm of Chaos back in 6th edition, which was very cool. It was 6th edition, wasn't it? Yeah. Storm of Chaos was 6th edition. That was like 2005. Anyway, yeah. So in that you could field a full Slayer army. And which is where we'll see. I'm sure they'll have them. Yeah, there they are. These guys came out in Storm of Chaos. Anyway, okay, fine. We'll carry on reading. Royal Clan and Expeditionary Force. I guess the Expeditionary Force is your gyrocopters and your Rangers. I don't know what else will be in it actually. We'll have to see. Royal Clan, maybe there's extra. I can't even remember what the limitations are on things like hammerers. But yeah, we'll have to see. Longbeards, hammerers, that kind of thing. Okay, so the Dwarf Mountain holds Battalion. Lay the foundations of a legendary army of the Battalion box, jammed with ornery bearded warriors. So yeah, so this is we saw this in the Adepticon preview. So that's the Battalion box, which I guess is probably about 100 quid coming out. I'll do a price comparison at some point, won't be now. Okay, solid battle line of 32 Dwarf Warriors, supported by 32 Quarriers, which can be Thunderers as well, 2 Gyrocopters, soaring overhead, spitting deadly firepower and dropping destructive bombs when alternatively built as Gyro Bombers. Now, I've never bought any of these. I am not the biggest fan of these. I think, I don't know, maybe they'll grow on me. I've got classic, I say classic ones, I've got 6th edition ones. I haven't got the pre-6th edition. So I've got a couple of those which I need to make up. Gyro Bombers are interesting, but there's something about this that kind of makes it look a little bit spaceshipy. Not quite to my taste, but there we go. Maybe I'll warm to it as we go. What do we got here? Dwarf Mountain holds reference card pack, dice set, and transfer sheet. There you go. For if you're into these kind of things, they're very nice. Some nice looking transfers on there. Add to your collection with a set of reference cards and thematic dice. Pack of 56 cards let you quickly reference rules and runic abilities in the heat of battle, whilst each set of 20 dice is cast in stone grey plastic with gold pipes and the Dwarven Mountain Hold emblem on the 6th face. There we go. And if you don't fancy hand painting runic emblems all over your throng, a massive sheet of 962 transfers will do the trick. That is a lot of transfers, but then a lot of them are these tiny runes. Although, I think the tiny runes are probably going to be more useful than these big ones. I don't know where you'd put them on your dwarves, maybe on your banners. I don't know. Most stuff comes with markings on anyway. Like on these guys, there's no room to put transfers or anything. The shields have got them on. I guess you could put the banner. There you go. The banners. if you want one on your drum. But there's very limited space, so I think maybe these tiny little runes are actually going to be the most useful of the transfers, but who knows, we'll see. A full set of 260 Klinkaran runes. That's the dwarf alphabet. Okay, so you can spell your favourite Khazalid insults along the barrels of your cannons, for sure. This guy, here we go. Ungrim Ironfist in his youthful days. That's a giant axe. Look at the size of that. Like, that's huge. Anyway, fine. He's sporting a rather nice Mohican there. Cool. Yeah, very good. Who doesn't want him? The Slayer King is back and ready to hack up the meanest, ugliest monsters he can find. Ungrim Ironfist, a legendary dwarf character represented here in his early years, still wielding the mighty axe of Dargo. I feel like that's bigger than it used to be. It's definitely bigger than it used to be, never mind. Wearing the Slayer crown, he's still a spectacularly lethal fighter who can slay powerful enemies outright with a lucky roll. This miniature is made from forged resin. It is a very nice model, I will be getting him. Yeah, that axe is definitely bigger. He's also a lot taller than he used to be. I'm pretty sure when I get him, I will definitely do a side-by-side comparison, but I'm pretty sure the old model probably comes up to about here, because this base is bigger than it used to be anyway. So head height, I feel like he's a head taller than he used to be. Maybe he's shrunk in his old age. But yeah, there we go. The Shieldbearer model is very, very nice. I've already got a couple of couple of models on shields, but that's just such a nice set. I can't not get it really. Okay, most experienced and respected dwarf lords are carried into battle atop heavy shields, which serve as both a reminder of their station and a convenient platform from which to split skulls. And when you're a dwarf, it's quite nice to be higher up and splitting skulls. Most people don't get that when you're a dwarf. This pack of plastic dwarf characters contains a Thane on foot and a king carried by 3 dedicated bodyguards with interchangeable weapons, allowing one to wield a hand weapon and shield while the other swings a hefty great weapon. There you go. It'll be interesting to see how interchangeable things are. There we are. Dwarf Thane with handgun and Oathstone. Unlike this guy, which I reckon is probably not interchangeable at all. Oathstone. I'll have to remind myself what Oathstones do these days, because I never would have, in 7th edition, I never would have taken a guy on Oathstone with a handgun. But I don't know, maybe you would, I guess. In 7th edition, your unit wasn't able to move, so actually a handgun probably would have been quite useful. But there we go. I don't think it does that anymore. I can't remember what Oathstones do. I'll have to look that up. Dwarf leaders from the northern clans often plant rune-inscribed oathstones onto the battlefield from which they can fight and command troops. These are more than just elevated platforms. That runes tell of the clan's honour, legacy and great deeds, and the presence of one renders a unit completely immune to panic tests. This miniature is made from forged resin. So, yeah, I won't go into the rules here, but previously, the old rules. In 7th edition, you chose to put your Oathstone on the floor. When you did that, your unit could not move for the rest of the game, because you were basically claiming a spot on the battlefield and saying, we're claiming this or dying here. But you lost your flanks and your rear, and your rank bonus counted no matter what. So no one could get rear bonus, like combat bonus for being in your rear. No one could get combat bonus for being in your flank. You basically counted as always being in the front of your enemies. You could get fully surrounded, and it basically represents the units forming a square, the dwarf unit forming a square, and just fighting to the death. And I loved it. I used to take one in a unit of like 40 Ironbreakers basically every game, and they would march to whatever objective I wanted to capture and sit there and just fight for the rest of the game, and it was beautiful. I don't think it does anything like that anymore. It makes me a little bit sad, but there we go. Classic dwarf characters, so classic rune priest, a bunch of metal engineers, and these, I can't quite remember where they came out. I wasn't aware of them coming out at the time. I think it's one of the, was it the Forge World expansions? Slayers, yeah, classic. Lead your throng to victory with the drone of some classic miniatures, including runesmiths and engineers. Support your new lords in battle. The dwarf command set contains 3 resin miniatures: a Thane with a battle standard, king on foot. That's king, is it? And a slayer of legend. Oh yeah, there he is. Used to represent either a dragon slayer or demon slayer. While the slayer command set comes with a musician, battle standard bearer, and 2 alternate slayers. Okay, fine. He used to be the champion, didn't he? I say champion. Okay, I will recall that statement because in the used to be able to make, and maybe you still can. I cannot remember. I have not looked at the dwarf rule set in a huge amount of depth for a while. But you used to be able to make as many guys as you like in the unit, upgrade them to giant slayers. I think you still can. It's interesting that they've started going with just the hair being orange from the looks of things, and not bothering dyeing their beards. So it's an interesting change, and I guess it makes them look a bit more interesting. Yeah, we just read that. So what do we got? We've got the classic warrior set that can be made with great weapons or hand weapons and shields. Is there anything else you could do? You could stick visors on them to make them longbeards. This was a 7th edition kit. Ooh, some of these are quite old slayers. These are classic, the classic older slayers. Hey, come back. And some of these. So, yeah, at one point you had the normal slayers, and then you had some of the slightly more extravagant slayers that represented your giant slayers, and then they just ditched all of the kind of weedier looking. No, they just don't have ornate axe. I mean, he does look a little bit weedy. And this guy. So this guy, I had. Oh, why's my button not working? It's because it's going the other way. I put this guy in my Mordheim warband, and I gave him a lantern. I don't even know why, just because I wanted to. So I chopped that axe off and stuck a lantern in his hand, just because I wanted to. Yeah, no idea why. But anyway, so some of these were the normal slayers, and then the ones with the ornate axes were like the giant slayers back in the day. But then they ditched, like I say, they ditched the standard slayers and just sold the more ornate ones as the normal slayers at one point. Like, yeah, there we go. I think I'd really like these. Which are these? These are the hammerers, and they also you make longbeards out of them, don't you? Yeah, it's hammerers and longbeards you make out of this kit. They're really nice. I've not got any of them. They were 8th edition, and I didn't really play during 8th edition, so I never picked any of them up. But they are really nice. Okay, so that's all of those, and then yeah, these came out in 7th edition, the Quarrelers and Thunderer kit, and then these I have long wanted to get some of these because I think they look hench. Back when 6th edition, the 6th edition book just had dwarves that looked so beefy in their armor and stuff, and I thought it was so cool. And then the Ironbreakers came out, and I mean the Ironbreakers were awesome, the metal ones, full in their gear, but they just didn't look as. These guys with their massive shoulder pads just look hardcore. So yeah, and I also thought about getting some of these and turn them into a Blood Bowl team back in the day. They probably still would look better than the current Blood Bowl dwarves. I don't know, they're not very dynamic, obviously, but I'm not a huge fan of any of the Blood Bowl dwarves that have been released over the years. But there we go, and I think these guys will look pretty sweet. But there we are, and obviously I've not got any Iron Drakes because I haven't got any of this kit. But yeah, I'd like to get some Iron Drakes at some point. Very cool. Alright, that's them. Yeah, love it. Coming back. Dwarven army would be nothing without its legions of dependable, durable troops. These classic kits are a great way to bulk out your burgeoning force. Warriors, slayers, hammerers, and ironbreakers are all powerful close combat troops who trade speed for raw toughness and grit. Trade speed, which are the fast units, I guess the gyrocopters. While Quarrelers, which can alternatively be built as Thunderers, add ranged firepower that can get work done should they be caught up in the melee. Now, you know what I discovered playing some games with dwarves is that dwarf rangers are excellent. Particularly, if I recall, they've got ballistic skill 4, which they never used to have. No dwarves, I don't think dwarves have ever had ballistic skill 4. In my recollection, since 6th edition, no dwarves have had ballistic skill 4, but dwarf rangers, I'm doubting myself now, dwarf rangers have got ballistic skill 4 in the current rule set, and that makes them excellent. Plus they can skirmish now, which makes them really good. Yeah, I've always loved dwarf rangers, and now I love them even more. So there we go. What have we got here? These are classic boys. Yeah, I've got this guy in my and this guy in my Wartime Warband. These were the models that were out pre-6th edition, so these were like, I know certainly 5th edition, I don't know how much earlier they were out, but that's what was around when I was making my my Dwarf Warband for Mordheim. So, and you could have Spearmen, that's interesting. Dwarves have not had spears, clearly, for a long time. So, I guess you're getting rules for Dwarf Spearmen, so if you've got classic Spearmen, Dwarves lost their spears in 6th edition. So yeah, if you've got Dwarf Spearmen, that's cool. The reason I use these guys in my Mordheim Warband was because spears were quite a good weapon for young bloods, or beardlings, as the case may be for dwarves. So yeah, so that's why I use those guys. But yeah, interesting. So dwarves with spears. I'm just kind of processing that in my mind, what that looks like, because, like I say, we've been 24 years without dwarves with spears, so that'll be interesting. So those dwarves who live among the Empire will march to war in the panoply of their human allies, hefting spears instead of their usual axes. And these Imperial dwarves can be added to your Dogs of War contingent with 2 sets of classic metal miniatures. That's a set, is it? These are the 2 sets. Likewise, the exceptionally crazed Slayers, Loners, Doomseekers also return to battle, packing 4 metal miniatures into 1 pack with their distinctive chain axe blades. Yeah, there we go. So, it looks like Dogs of War allies. So there'll be a Dogs of War set of dwarves with spears from the looks of things. Just quickly reading this again. Imperial dwarves. Okay, Imperial dwarves. 2 sets of classic metal miniatures. I assume that's the 1 set is the command group and 1 set is the normal troopers. So yeah, there we go. Would I want a dwarf with a spear? Yeah, I mean it's alright, isn't it? Gives you more attacks. Yeah, dwarfs with spears. So, I very, very rarely, if ever, take a normal dwarf warrior. Just a normal clansman. Because I'd much rather take Longbeards or Ironbreakers. Like, why would I take a dwarf warrior with an axe? If someone can convince me to do it, I don't know. You'd have to have quite a compelling argument, because they're just. I'd much rather take Rangers or Miners. I can't remember what the core troops are these days now. But those kind of options are far more likely to fill out my core troops, and then any of my actual combat units, I'll be taking Ironbreakers or Longbeards if I. Yeah, so I don't know. I just don't find a use for these guys. I mean, great weapons is probably an alright use for them. Classic Dwarf War engines. So these are the 7th edition bolt thrower and. Was it 7th edition? Yeah, it was 7th edition. These came out. That was Storm of Chaos with Malachi Mackayson, who is absent from the kit. So it looks like. Does that mean you can have loads of these in your army? Previously, so in Storm of Chaos, Malachi Mackayson had recently invented this. So we're now several hundred years before Malachi Mackayson has invented it for Storm of Chaos, but there we go. Maybe it's been a couple of hundred years. Maybe Storm of Chaos, because it's still a newfangled machine. 200 years isn't very long for dwarves. Maybe that's the retcon. But yeah, so previously there was only one in existence. Malachi Mackayson crewed it along with his couple of crew members. But it'd be interesting to see if you can take more than one in your army. And it's got 2 crew now and doesn't have Malachi. And then this was 6th edition that this flame cannon came out anyway. More than any other army in the world of legend, dwarves love their war machines, and their industrious engineers have invented a wide variety of ways to slaughter their enemies from long distances. The grudge thrower and bolt thrower use tried and tested methods to hurl huge rocks and bolts deep into enemy formations, while the more esoteric goblin hewer and flame cannon butcher sways of infantry with a barrage of hurled axes or spewed fire. You know what? I've never actually used a flame cannon. I've got a couple of flame cannons unbuilt in bags. I probably should build one at some point and try it out. But the goblin hewer I used to take every single game. It was the best weapon. It used to. Is it in the? I don't know if it's in the normal book. Maybe it's in the. Oh, I can't remember now. Anyway, it used to do D3 hits per rank of the enemy unit that you were shooting at, which is why it's called a goblin hero, right? Because they usually have the most ranks, them and Skaven. And so it was amazing. Like, you shoot a unit with 4 or 5 ranks, 5d3, 4d3 dice. I loved it. It was great. And I think it was just like strength 4, AP2, something like that. Anvil of Doom and Bugman's Cart. Couldn't have a big dwarf release without 2 of the most iconic units. 2 of their most iconic units. How iconic of a unit is Bugman's Cart? That's what it is, isn't it? Bugman's. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of. I'd never seen it. There you go. That's how iconic I think it is. I'd never seen it before the Adepticon pre-release preview. This obviously is iconic. Whether you think this one or the old one on wheels is more iconic, but there we go. Anyway, 2 of their most iconic units. The Anvil of Doom is a powerful focus for runic energies that allows a Forge Father to strike freshly forged runes upon its mighty surface, instilling nearby dwarfs with powerful boons that harden their armor and instill their warriors with vigor. When the Throng needs an extra turn of speed, interesting, it can also turn to the non-magical, yet no less potent power of Bugman's XXXXX. 6 X's. What's that? Sextuple X? Carted around by sturdy draft ponies and distributed to nearby warriors to boost their speed. That's interesting. Sounds like you can have multiple of those in your army. Yeah, very interesting. Alright. Yeah, it'd be good to see the rules for that. So I guess the rules for some of those things are coming out in here. Yeah, host of special units. Host. Including the Goblin Hero. There we go. That's right. I didn't think it was in the main book. Force of Fancy book. Okay, very interesting. And more Dogs of War options, I think. The Dogs of War. So that's not a. Oh, maybe it is a Dogs of War option. Is that what that's saying? Special units. It's a special unit, including and more dogs. I don't know. We'll find out what counts as Dogs of War and what counts as a special unit. So yeah, there we go. So the Dogs of War sounds like these guys, and we had the Dragon Company, didn't we? Yes, so the Dragon Company as well, which do look cool. Another Dogs of War unit. I wonder if it's any more than those. Are these Dogs of War? I mean, so yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they include those in the armies. Like, I thought the fact that these were coming back and the Goblin Hero was coming back, which clearly is manned by Slayers. I thought we were going to get a Slayer. And Ungrim, right? Maybe there's some special rules with Ungrim that allows you to make a Slayer army. So maybe that's what it is. We'll have to see. There we go. I think that's everything. So good that we finally got an update. It doesn't say when they're coming out though, does it? Does it say? No. So this is just okay. So that's what this is. This is an article about the Arcane Journal. There we are. But yeah, we're still no closer that I can see to knowing when they come out. But at least we've had a bit more info there. There we go. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Hope that was interesting. Certainly, I found it interesting, and it's good to know that we've not been completely forgotten about. But yeah, there we go. All right. Thanks.